If you're living in the US and paying rent every month like swallowing stones, brace yourself, because what you're about to hear might make you want to book a flight today. There are still places in the world where $50,000 isn't a dream, but a key. A key that buys you a real house, a real garden, and a life that's 10 times lighter. In those places, eating out costs just a few dollars. Healthcare is so cheap it makes you suspicious, and mornings don't start with stress, but with sunlight, wind, and birdsong. The most surprising thing isn't the cheap houses. It isn't the low cost of living. It's how thousands of Americans have lived freer than ever after moving to these places, and no one ever told you. And maybe the last country on today's list is the one where you'll begin your new life. And make sure you stay until minute 8, because there, I'll tell you the 6 things retirees should never reveal. The things that can protect your safety, your money, and your old age, whether you're living in the US or in any low-cost country you're about to explore. Number 5. Bulgaria, where $50,000 becomes a new chapter of life. If you're looking for a place where time slows down just enough for your heart to breathe, to rest, to be still, then Bulgaria is the answer the world rarely mentions. Yet everyone who sets foot there never forgets. Bulgaria doesn't try to shine like Western Europe, nor does it rush like the modern Balkan capitals. It is beautiful in the way old books are beautiful, simple, quiet, and full of moments that make you realize you've been running too fast somewhere else. Especially now, when housing prices in the US have soared so high that $50,000 buys nothing more than an old SUV. In Bulgaria, that same amount is enough for a real home. A 2-story house of red brick, curved roof tiles, and a garden nearly 1,000 square meters, where every morning you open the door, and the melting fog over the sunflower fields seems to melt right into your mind. Towns like Veliko Tarnovo, Yambol, and Elhovo feel like paintings suspended between mountains and rivers. The Yantra River winds around red-tiled rooftops stacked like an old mosaic. You can buy a $45,000 and $50,000 home here. Old brick walls, 2 to 3 bedrooms, a vintage fireplace that still smells of wood, and a backyard garden where old apple and plum trees are heavy with fruit every season. Some say Bulgaria feels like a forgotten memory tucked away for too long. Only when you reopen it do you realize how precious it is. And if you ask why homes under $50,000 here have such a strong pull, the answer is simple. They bring back the feeling of being alive, something modern American life is slowly taking away. Many Americans only understand after moving here what it means to live on $700, $1,000 a month without lacking anything. In a single week, you can visit the market, buy fresh vegetables picked from villagers' gardens, buy cheese, honey, local wine, and the total still surprises you. A meal out costs $8 to $10, coffee is under $1, and a glass of local wine is around $2. Delicious enough to make you forget you once paid $12 for a glass in California. Electricity, water, and gas cost around $100 to $150. And internet is just $15 to $20, but faster and more stable than in many rural areas of the US. Because of the mild climate, you don't need much air conditioning. Just open the windows and let the mountain breeze in. Americans often worry about health care, and that's another thing that reassures them when they come to Bulgaria. Private hospitals in Plovdiv, Varna, and Sofia are modern. Doctors speak more English than you'd expect. Private consultations cost $20 to $40, and an entire year of international health insurance costs about what you'd pay in just 3 days in the U.S. One American said, "Here, it was the first time I went to the doctor without having to choose between my health and my wallet." Safety is also what makes Bulgaria special. In small towns, crime is extremely low. Neighbors look at you with friendly eyes, children play in the streets, and you can walk at night without looking over your shoulder. Getting residency visas is also not difficult for Americans. You can apply for a Type D visa with a clear and transparent set of paperwork. Owning a $50,000 home in Bulgaria even helps strengthen your credibility when applying for long-term residency. You don't need hundreds of thousands of dollars like in Portugal or Spain. Bulgaria still opens a gentle but solid doorway for those who want to live slowly and sustainably. But what makes Bulgaria unforgettable isn't found in documents. It's found in the rhythm of life. In Veliko Tarnovo, opening your door in the morning means hearing church bells echo from afar. In Yambol, sitting on your porch in the afternoon means catching the smell of freshly baked bread drifting by. In Elhovo, at night, the warm yellow lights on the narrow streets make you feel like you're living inside an old film, one that's heartbreakingly beautiful. Bulgarians love to say spoko, another way of telling each other, stay calm, slow down, enjoy. And that philosophy is exactly what helps Americans find the missing piece in their lives. The expat community in Bulgaria isn't large, but it's close-knit. They make wine, grow vegetables, restore old houses, learn Bulgarian, host BBQs by the river, and share with one another the reasons they left the U.S. Not because they hated America, but because they wanted a chapter of life not weighed down by bills. A man named Robert Miller, 64, said, "In Ohio, I paid $2,000 a month to live in a rush. In Bulgaria, I pay $600 to live for real. And for the first time in my life, I don't feel guilty spending an afternoon just watching the clouds." Of course, Bulgaria isn't perfect. Winters are cold and long in some regions. A few towns don't have strong internet. Not everyone speaks English. And the infrastructure in some areas is still rustic. But those things are just small scratches on an otherwise colorful, honest picture. In return, you get clear skies, clean air, quiet evenings, and the feeling of belonging, something not every country can offer. If the slow pace of life, the fresh green landscapes, and the peaceful village homes of Bulgaria move you, leave a comment saying, "I choose Bulgaria." Who knows? This might be the place where you finally find the gentleness you've always longed for. Before you continue exploring the countries where $50,000 can change your entire retirement, there's something important that few people talk about. Retiring abroad isn't just about finding a cheap place to live. It's about protecting yourself. You're beginning a new chapter, a lighter life. But to truly stay safe, there are 6 things retirees should never reveal. If even one of these slips out, the peace you are seeking can disappear faster than you think. 6 things retirees should never reveal. 1. Your real net worth and income. When people know how much money you have, they no longer see you the same way. The envious avoid you, opportunists move closer, and scammers, they hunt only those who look like prey. 2. Your health conditions and medical vulnerabilities. A small detail about your health can turn you into a target for fake medicine, fake doctors, or sophisticated extortion schemes built on your medical records. 3. Passwords, PIN codes, login information. One single leak is enough to wipe out a lifetime of savings. Even family members sometimes lack the proper security habits. 4. Your travel plans, where you're going, how long you'll be gone, and when you'll return. One social media post saying, "at the airport," one careless sentence to a taxi driver, and your home becomes the perfect target. 5. Your social security number, SSN. If this leaks, criminals can take loans, open accounts, claim tax refunds, all under your name. Losing your identity is even more dangerous than losing your wallet. 6. The details of your will and asset distribution. It sounds harmless, but it's fuel for arguments, jealousy, and silent battles within families, especially when you're more vulnerable. 4. Serbia, a place in Europe where peaceful living is just one decision away. Serbia is a place that surprises everyone who arrives, a country in the heart of Europe, deep green Balkan mountains, red-tiled towns leaning along the riverbanks, and a pace of life so slow you can literally hear the wind brushing through the garden behind your house. What amazes Americans isn't the scenery, but the feeling of being able to breathe, something many people lose after living too long in the U.S. The town of Niš is the heart of that tranquility. Mornings echo with church bells. Afternoons are soaked in golden sunlight over old tile roofs, and at night, a gentle mist settles over centuries-old stone streets. This is a place where life feels like an open book, gentle, simple, yet full of the warmth of its people. Serbia is becoming one of Europe's real estate bright spots. Incredibly low prices, laws that allow foreigners to buy homes easily, high appreciation potential, and stable rental income in cities like Belgrade or Niš, making it a low-risk, high-opportunity choice for both retirees and investors. In Serbia, the property prices make Americans literally rub their eyes to check whether a zero is missing. In peaceful towns like Niš, Leskovac, or Vranje, a two-story house with a yard, red tile roof, and thick stone walls truly costs only $30,000 to $55,000. Prefer big land lots? Old brick houses on large plots, needing only light renovation, cost just $18,000 to $28,000, a price that in the U.S. gets you half of a used car. An empty land to build your own home? A 501,000 meters plot is just $6,000 to $15,000, meaning the price of a high-end iPhone in the U.S. can be exchanged for a real piece of European land. The most attractive part is that foreigners are allowed to own property fully and legally. And owning real estate even helps you apply for long-term residency as easily as signing up for Netflix. Serbia isn't just cheap. It gives you the feeling that you've opened the door to a new chapter of life, where land and peace still have a price meant for human beings. An American named Howard, 67, once shared that he stopped by Serbia just to see it, but ended up staying because of one very small moment. That day, while standing in front of the Niš market, a strong gust of wind suddenly blew his brown hat down the slope. Before he could even run after it, a young Serbian man rushed down, picked it up, handed it back, and said in broken English, "In this place, no one loses anything. We hold things for each other." Howard said, "That moment told me I had found the right place." The cost of living in Serbia also leaves Americans confused. Around $800 to $1,000 a month is enough to live comfortably. Eating out $5 to $6 a meal, coffee $1, fast internet under $15, and local markets selling fresh vegetables so cheaply you might think they wrote the wrong price. Private health care is modern. Many doctors speak English. A consultation costs only $20 to $30, and the service is so honest you know you're not being overcharged. As for residency, Serbia belongs to the easiest group in the Balkans. With just 1,000-month income or owning a home, you can apply for long-term residency and renew it for many years. Many Americans say the paperwork here is so fast, it makes you think they skipped a step. Serbia isn't perfect. Winters are cold, village roads can be uneven, and the Serbian language sounds like people are arguing all the time. But those small things make the place real and familiar. You don't have to prove anything. You just have to live. Each morning, When you open your door and see the Balkans covered in mist, you'll understand why more and more Americans choose Serbia for the rest of their lives. If the peace of the Balkans and the slow rhythm of Serbian life makes your heart feel lighter, comment, Serbia, I'm ready. 3. Dominican Republic, where 50,000 buys you a slice of green paradise. The Dominican Republic always feels like a moving postcard. Skies so blue you'd think someone repaints them every morning, ocean water clear as glass, and rows of coconut palms along white sand beaches swaying as if whispering, slow down. What makes this place a true dream isn't just its beauty. It's the unbelievable reality that $50,000 here buys you a real home, just minutes from the beach, something nearly impossible in the U.S. In coastal towns like Sosua or Las Terrenas, charming little houses with gardens, red tile roofs, white walls, and windows that open to the ocean breeze are listed around $45,000, $50,000. Many of them sit under the shade of palm trees, with stone paths leading to the sand, and backyards full of mango, papaya, banana, all completely natural. These are the kinds of homes you look at and instantly think, if I could buy this once in my life, I'd never sell it. The story of Linda Harper, 62, is proof of that miracle. Linda used to live in New Mexico, where summers were as hot as an oven and winters as dry as paper. One boring day, scrolling the internet, she saw a photo of Playa Chiquita and decided to try a visit. 3 days after setting foot on the island, she called her daughter and said, I think I'm going to stay here for good. The following week, she bought a $48,500 home just a 3-minute walk from the beach. On the day she received the keys, Linda said she felt like she'd been handed a new life. White walls, wooden porch, windows looking out to golden sunlight falling across the Caribbean Sea. From someone who used to keep her doors shut to avoid sandstorms, she became someone who opens her doors every morning to greet ocean air, salty and clean like pure sea salt. What makes the Dominican Republic even more appealing is the cost of living, so low that many Americans think it must be a mistake. With about $900–1,200 a month, you can live comfortably. Food, utilities, internet, private insurance, morning coffee, weekly seafood, and long, lazy afternoons in a hammock listening to bachata drifting from afar. A plate of grilled lemon-marinated fish is only $7, coconut water $1, and Dominican coffee is so strong that after 1 cup you feel a year younger. Healthcare is also a reason many Americans feel at ease. In Puerto Plata, Santo Domingo, or Santiago, private hospitals meet U.S. European standards, with many doctors trained abroad and speaking excellent English. A private consultation is only $20–40. Medicine is far cheaper than in the U.S. Linda once went in for a headache, got tests done, received medication, and the total was just $18. She laughed and said, "This is the first time a medical bill made me happy." As for residency, the Dominican Republic is sweet in the truest sense. Americans can apply for residency based on $1,500-month retirement income or property ownership. Notably, a $50,000 home purchase is often considered enough to apply for permanent residency, a rarity in the Caribbean. But the Dominican Republic's biggest strength lies in its rhythm of life: slow, warm, kind, and full of color. In the morning, you walk on white sand. At noon, you eat grilled fish and drink cold coconut water. In the afternoon, you lie in a hammock reading, letting the sea breeze run through your hair. At night, you sit on the porch, listening to bachata from the neighbor's house, while children run around under soft yellow lights. No one is rushed. No one is stressed. No $500 bill keeps you awake at night. Linda said that what kept her here wasn't the cheap housing, but the feeling of getting to live life a second time. Every day here feels like a gift I never thought I could still receive. Dominican Republic isn't perfect. Sometimes there are a few minutes of power outage. The evening music can be a bit loud, and life is still rustic. But in return, you have the sea, the sunshine, ripe mangoes right behind the house, gentle neighbors, and a life where you don't need to be rich to be happy. $50,000 here doesn't just buy a house. It buys a shade of green, a smile, and a second chapter of life peaceful enough to make you want to live slowly. If the Caribbean Sea, the warm sun, and the relaxed rhythm of Dominican life open your heart, leave. I want to go to the Dominican Republic. Maybe your happiness is waiting where the waves break. Italy, where $50,000 buys a dream among the hills. Italy always carries a strange kind of beauty. Not hurried, yet it makes your heart beat faster. Not trying to be magnificent, yet every street corner, every old roof, every hill makes you want to keep taking photos without stopping. The most surprising thing is that among expensive Europe, there are still places where $50,000 can buy a real home. Among olive fields, wine country, and skies as wide as a painting. Calabria and Abruzzo are two such places. Far from Rome or Milan, you'll find small villages tucked under the mountains, where old stone houses priced $25,000, $50,000 still remain, quiet as if time forgot to disturb them. Thick stone walls, red tile roofs, old wooden doors, backyards with grapevines forming archways. The kind of scenery people assume only Italians can touch. Yet with $50,000, you don't just touch it, you own it. The story of Daniel Grant, 58, is the clearest proof. After 3 decades living in Boston, where every brick has its price, Daniel decided to try living 1 month in Abruzzo. He arrived, rented a car, drove through winding roads between the vineyard hills, and immediately realized he had made the biggest mistake of his life, coming to Italy too late. A week later, Daniel bought a $42,000 house in Sulmona, the small town where mornings smell like cannoli, and the afternoon mountain breeze sweeps across the square as if telling a fairy tale. Daniel's cost of living dropped to about $1,000 a month, including fresh food, wine so cheap I suspect they put the wrong price on it, and evenings sitting on the porch, watching the hills change color with the sunset. A private checkup in Italy is only $30, $40. Many doctors speak English, and the public healthcare system is nearly free once you have long-term residency. Italy's elective residence visa requires you to prove stable income, and that's it. Daniel submitted his application, and one afternoon he stood in the Sulmona town square, holding his residency paper in his hand, feeling as if he had just signed a contract with the rest of his life. Italy isn't perfect. Sometimes the bureaucracy is messy, the trains are a few minutes late, and neighbors talk loudly as if arguing even though they're just asking whether you've eaten dinner. But in return, every day you wake up in a scene that feels like it came from a movie. $50,000 in Italy doesn't buy luxury. It buys a life so beautiful, you no longer need luxury. If the old rooftops, the wine, the Tuscan sunsets, or the old stone paths of southern Italy move you, right. Italy is my choice. Maybe Italy is the chapter of life you never dared to write. 1. Ecuador. Noi 50,000 usdi moi juach mot gok bin yen tren di Andes. Ecuador is the kind of place where you only need one morning of opening your window to understand why American retirees are flocking here. The Andes stand tall, wrapped in white clouds. The valleys are green and soft like velvet, and the air is so clear that a single breath feels like it lifts your whole mind. The most surprising part? 50,000 USD here buys a real house, not a dream. In Cotacachi or Vilcabamba, homes priced at 40,000, 50,000 USD are still plentiful. White walls, wide gardens, breezy porches facing the mountains. Some even have a small stream running through the yard, something you'd have to pay an entrance fee to see in the US. David Monroe, 59, is a clear example. He used to pay 2,200 USD per month for an apartment in Colorado, and he came to Ecuador just to see. But only 3 days later, he bought a house for 44,000 USD. David said, "I didn't believe I could live like this on my retirement budget." The cost of living in Ecuador is extremely low. About 700 to 900 USD per month is comfortable. A meal is only 3-5 USD. The coffee is wonderfully fragrant, and the vegetables are so cheap, it feels like they're giving them away. Healthcare is surprisingly strong too. Private checkups cost 25-35 USD, many doctors speak English, and the public IS health program is just over 80 USD per month. Ecuador isn't perfect. Mountain roads can be bumpy, and the altitude may make you a bit short of breath at first. But in return, you get a life that's slow, clean, affordable, and peaceful enough to make you feel younger. In Ecuador, 50,000 USD doesn't just buy a house. It buys a long breath, the one you forgot you needed. If the peace of Balkan, the small sunlit towns, and the simple lifestyle of Serbia make your heart feel lighter, comment, "Serbia, I'm ready." Life doesn't need to rush to still be beautiful. You don't need to be truly wealthy to live a more beautiful life. You only need to dare to take one small step outside the familiar whirlwind, and you'll see that the world is wider than you imagined, and peace is cheaper than you think. If 50,000 USD in the US only buys pressure, then in the countries today, it can buy a home, a new rhythm of life, and a chapter worth living. The question isn't, can you do it? But rather, do you dare to begin?